So I'm Jay, this is Shane. So he wants a mid-taper, he wants to keep the goatee, shave the beard, and keep the mustache. So he wants more of a cleaner look. Okay, so one thing off the bat that I really appreciate when clients do is that number one is they actually get the braid first. If you're actually planning to get your hair braided or anything like that, get the braid first. The reason for it is because the braider will actually use the hair that she needs or he needs and leave the hair that they don't need potentially. So I can actually just reshape it, refine it, cut it, or whatever I need to do with it, right? So it's kind of like my turn, their turn. So I feel like that's a great way of looking at things when you actually want the braid up. A lot of people get the haircut first and then the braid up. They want to look fresh before the braid up. Again, I feel like it's better to do the opposite, to get the braid up first and then the haircut. So again, what we're gonna do is just refine everything. Again, we're not touching the top. We're just gonna give them a mid-taper, take off the beard, keep the goatee, line it up, more of a sharp, cleaner look. Let's do that. Okay. So in this case, I know our previous clients, we use the comb. We're actually gonna use a brush. Why? Because it actually has harder bristles where it actually helps the hair, because since Shane's hair is so coarse, it actually lays down the hair very nicely and evenly. So I can actually see the whole shape. It's like mimicking a comb for like straighter hair. So it's good to actually use this, right? Again, it's just to really lay the hairs nice and evenly before I actually start cutting, because if I actually just start cutting first, then it's not gonna be even all around. Just gonna tilt his head and just literally brush everything. And then in this case, you kind of want to just self-judge it at this point to actually just see if the hair is straight enough for your liking so you can start cutting. Again, since this hair is more coarse, I'm going to be using a lot of techniques like with the grain and against the grain, and I'll go more into detail when it's time. So I slapped on the 0.5, right? It's going to be open. I'm going to go with the grain. Shane, he likes his hair not too light, and he likes the contrast of his hair. That's why he goes for the mid-taper. He likes the lines to pop. Is that right, Shane?
That is correct.
Yeah, there you go. So we're just gonna continue the comb now after we brush it, just to keep going. So 0.5 open again. I'm actually gonna use this as my base throughout the whole haircut. Make it nice and even and flat. He got a fresh braid up, which I appreciate because it actually helps me actually give a really clean cut. So shout out to the braider. In this case, I'm going to be using the trimmer to make a guideline, because since his hair is more coarse, I kind of wanted to make it pop more, right? So I'm going to tilt the head, comb down, and the guideline that I'm going to be using is more of a V-shaped guideline. The reason is because since this V-shape is actually created, it actually makes the corners more dark. As you can see, the peak of it is actually in the center. Right, so I'm just gonna follow that fade according to the guideline. So again, keeping those corners dark to really maximize those line and those edges. Now fully closed. And a lot of people, pro tip, a lot of people ask, hey Jay, what's a high taper, mid taper, low taper? As I flip him to the side just like this, right? You can actually see the corner of his head, right? And the vertical bar. And when I judge a high taper, low taper, or mid taper, I go against the hook or the C cup, which is here to here, right? I like to use the ear and the start of the corner to actually identify the hook in the C cup. So anywhere where I start the guideline from here to here, I consider that as a high. Let me use the comb so you guys can really see what I'm talking about. So here to here is more of a high, right? If I go more below The corner is considered more of a mid taper, and if I actually start the guideline like here, it's considered a low. So that's a good tip to understand high, low, or mid taper. And I'm just gonna continue going on. So I'm gonna start doing the lineup before I do the beard. So what I did with the lineup, I actually used the 0.5 guard closed, going with the grain, meaning going down. And what that looks like is like this. As you can see, I'm barely taking anything off. It's just literally laying it down more cleaner. All right. And a lot of my students ask, yo, Jay, do you usually start in the middle, left, or right? What I like to do is I like to examine the lineup first, right? I like to see it in its most raw shape, right? And when I comb everything down, do my Shane, do you mind looking down a bit? I like to see which side is higher than which. And in this case, you can automatically see that the left side, you can actually, it's less to play with than the right? So that's where I'm gonna start the most, or that's where I'm gonna start first. And the reason for it, again, is so I don't go too high. Meaning if I started here, right, and then I make my line, and then I would eventually have to meet the higher side eventually, which it'll look more slanted. Rather than if I start in the higher side, then I can actually meet it, right, and create the lower side according to the higher side, which is the left side. So what does that look like again? Brush it down. Again, we don't want to push Shane's lineup up, right? That's a lot of barbers' mistakes, is that they forget that the client's lineup, his natural lineup, is there. You just have to really brush it down and see. So look down, perfect. As you can see there, nice clean edge up, very nice and clean. What I really want to do is just enhance it even more, because why not? So this is Temptation. This is what I like to use as my enhancer. The reason for it is because it actually carries all natural products like olive oil, and it's actually highly water resistant, smudge proof, and pillow friendly. For those, I always put people on, and now it's actually so hard for me to get, where my supplier is actually always running out. So thanks to those people, always buying them. So what I'm gonna do, as you can see, his lineup is naturally sharp already. And what the enhancer should do is not fix the haircut, but make it pop, right? So this is where a lot of people actually get confused on how to put enhancement, is they think that, oh, you should just put it flat. No, you should actually make it more of a 45 degree. And you actually wanna place your finger furthest away from the card, right? And you always wanna just spray slightly. You don't wanna overdo it and hold it in barbering. Mostly it's always tap, 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 right? For maximized control or maximum control. Till slowly. Again, his lineup is already super sharp, right? But the enhancer will really make it pop. So there you have it, a mid taper. So I'm gonna walk you guys through what I did. So I took the 0.5 guard closed, going with the grain, creating my base. I felt like with Shane's hair, it actually complements the contrast very well. After that, I created a guideline more in a V shape. So it actually enhances those dark spots, especially where he likes his line work. That's why he likes the mid taper, because it actually makes his line work pop even more. And he didn't want the beard, so I just shaved it off with a trimmer. I didn't use the foil shaver only because it actually gives him ingrowns, right? So I kind of wanted to avoid that. So again, mid taper with a sharp lineup, very nice and clean. I also use the razor to really enhance the lines. So there you have it.